Hi, and thanks for tuning in to This Week in East Brunswick, the township's own news and information program. Today we'll be visiting the high school to look at the drama department's latest effort, an original play called, appropriately, High School. Sandy Udell will speak with several students involved in the production. We'll also take another look at the high school's bicycle and wheelchair repair program, which was honored last Thursday as one of 10 schools nationwide to receive the coveted Secretary's Award from the United States Secretary of Education. Our regular features will include For Your Information and advice on how the library's reference department can help with your medical inquiries. Health Facts from Ken Shalhoub will offer information on what's really in fast food chicken. Consumer Aware with Adrian Eisner will discuss selecting a tax preparer. Photographer Bob Nemser will offer tips on the exposure settings on your camera. And we'll end with this week's Township Council review. First, here's what's up on Channel 8 next week. Monday at 10 a.m., Lenore Kulik brings you exercises to firm up on Look Great, Feel Great. At 10:30, Wildlife in Our Landscape with Tom Schuster will look at animals and wildlife illustration. Tuesday at 7 p.m., Check It Out comes to you from the libraries of Middlesex, followed at 7:30 by Sports Talk with John Megliero. Then at 8 p.m., About East Brunswick with the Mayor will feature David Weil and a discussion of the library. Wednesday at 3 p.m., it's Stories from the Library, with stories and finger plays from Carol Phillips and her audience of 4-year-olds. Wednesday night at 7:30, For Art's Sake, visits the Art Therapy program at Katzenbach School for the Deaf, followed at 8 by The Arts from the Middlesex County Cultural and Heritage Commission. Now let's join Sandy Udell at the high school auditorium with some talented guests.
Hi, we're here at East Brunswick High School with a few of the cast members from their new show, High School. We're going to be finding out a little bit about the show and talking to the people that participated and wrote it. Danny, why don't you tell us a little bit about the show itself, about the concept of the show?
Well, the whole idea behind it is that's a play about the students, written by the students and for the students. It's just a whole collection of skits and songs and poems that deal with the problems and the happy times that occur in high school life.
Marnie, who decided to do the show? Was it a collective decision?
Well, actually, the concept started out where we did things like this in class. We would do different skits dealing with basically with high school life or a teenager's life. And it was Elliot's idea to actually make it into a production. And, you know, he called all of us together, and we just added different things that we would like to put in it. And it became bigger and bigger and bigger. Brought a lot of new people, you know, into the show and into the drama club, and a lot of writers, a lot of musicians, you know, that we didn't have before.
How does it feel to work on skits and songs written by your friends? Do they ever give you any advice?
Well, I think that's better because they know what they wanted when they write it, whereas something that's written by a professional, you can never ask what he meant by it. So if there's a specific interpretation to what somebody wrote and you're not doing it that way, then they tell you how they think it should be done along with Elliot, and it makes it look a lot better.
Marnie, is there ever conflict between people?
Well, you have to keep an open mind because, you know, when somebody sits down and writes something, they basically know what they want it to sound like. And sometimes there are problems when somebody wants to do it one way and the writer wants you to do it another way, and they say, well, you know, this is our show, we should be able to do it the way we want. But, you know, it eventually gets ironed out. There haven't been any major problems, but, you know, there are a few snags.
Glenn, I know you're the musical director of the show. How did you come up with the ideas for the music?
Well, I was mostly given lyrics written by the other students, and I'd go home, or I'd even do it sitting right there, and I'd just try to put together music that sounded like it would be high school kind of music, music that would go with the words, and music that everybody could probably sing and dance to and have a good time with.
What are some of the different styles of the music that you've written?
I've tried to get in a little bit of everything. There's a reggae song that Roger sings and a rap song. There's some songs that are more traditional Broadway kind of stuff. Some slow, some fast. I try to get in a little bit of everything.
Roger, I know you've written some of the skits for the show. Why don't you tell me a little bit about them?
Well, one I wrote called Wandering with Glenn Slater, and at this time in East Brunswick, it's very significant because one of the lyrics is, I often wonder what would happen if I changed the color of my skin. Would people see me as a different person, or would they know who I was from within? And it means a lot. I wrote some other things, you know, just to show how high school kids felt, like things for myself and stuff like that.
I know the finale of your show is called Life. Did you write that song? Why don't you tell me a little bit about it and the statement that it makes?
Since the whole show deals with high school and growing up, it's a sort of a step in between your childhood and your adulthood. So what the song tries to express is being on the edge and wanting to become an adult, wanting to grow up, but sort of still wanting to be a little immature and childish, and the problems on both sides of that. And it's just sort of getting it all out of your system, again, kind of thing, where you're getting it all out and going on and moving on and finishing a stage of your life.
High School will be performed at East Brunswick High School on March 6th, 7th, and 8th at 8 p.m. Tickets will be on sale at the door.
Can the library locate information on a neurologist in New Brunswick? Hi, my name is Susan Keel, Head of Reference and Information Services at the East Brunswick Public Library. Questions like this one are asked every day at the reference desk. Yet many of our viewers are not aware of the wide range of information sources available to answer such questions. Today, our question takes us to the medical reference section of our collection. Here we'll find the Directory of Medical Specialists, listing board-certified physicians by specialties, as well as the American Medical Association Directory of Physicians and the New Jersey Medical Society Directory. So can the library help locate information on a neurologist in New Brunswick? Yes, just ask at the reference desk and we'll show you the appropriate directories. If you have a question, don't hesitate to stop by the reference desk or call 390-6767. Hope to see you soon.
Welcome to Quick Clicks. I'm Bob Nemser. Our topic is exposure and metering. To record an image reasonably accurately, a photographic film must receive the correct quantity of light energy. The eye cannot measure subject brightness reliably, and although film manufacturers enclose a packing slip that suggests typical camera settings, these only apply to a few typical outdoor subjects and lighting conditions. Therefore, some form of light measuring meter is vital to any serious photographer. All meters work on the basis of converting light into electric current, which can be measured on a scale and translated into appropriate shutter speeds and f-stops, relative to the ASA speed of the film. There are, of course, many kinds and makes of exposure meters. Some are completely independent and others are built right into the camera. They are of two basic types: selenium cell meters and cadmium sulfide or CDS meters. Both of them are useful because of what light does with and to them. A selenium cell meter reacts to the impact of light by actually generating a small but measurable amount of electricity. This electricity, the very tiny amount that is generated, is enough to swing a needle over the face of a dial. The greater the light, the greater the power, and the greater the swing of the needle. The CDS meter is quite different. In this case, light affects the electrical conductivity of the unit. The greater the light, the greater the conductivity, or putting it the other way around, the lower the resistance. A CDS meter has to have a flow of electricity going before the effect of light on it becomes measurable. Hence, a small battery to provide that current must be incorporated into the unit. The selenium meter is simple and reliable and does not require a battery. It lacks sensitivity at lower lights though, but in stronger light it's more accurate. CDS meters require a battery which you should change once a year. These meters are sensitive to a wide range of light levels, but cadmium cells suffer from oversensitivity to red light and can be slow in responding. I strongly recommend a handheld meter instead of using the built-in meter in your camera for two reasons. One, a built-in meter does not allow the photographer to know what shutter speed and f-stop the subject was shot at. Therefore, when the meter isn't working, the photographer does not know how to manually estimate and set the exposure. A handheld meter forces you to read and manually set the controls for a subject, thereby storing it to memory for such an emergency. Built-in metering is most reliable with front-lit or even brightness. With more contrasty scenes or backlit subjects, it can be widely inaccurate. An off-camera meter allows you to make highly selective exposure measurements using either reflected or incident light readings or a combination of them both. Our next segment will continue exposure and meters. We will discuss how much of a scene does a meter measure, take a close look at handheld meters, and discuss some helpful tips. Until next time, keep clicking.
This past Thursday, East Brunswick High School's Bicycle and Wheelchair Repair Program for Handicapped Youth was awarded the U.S. Department of Education's Secretary's Award for being one of the 10 outstanding vocational education programs selected in the country. The East Brunswick Board of Education offers the only bicycle and wheelchair repair program in the state, offering hands-on training to special education students at the high school. Back in November, when the program was first selected for the award, we spoke with its instructor, Michael Pfister.
The program is a program designed to help develop vocational skills in special education students, and in doing so we repair bicycles and wheelchairs for the community. And many agencies that we service include the East Brunswick Elks, the Cerebral Palsy Center in Edison, the schools in East Brunswick. Each school has their own wheelchair, and we have overhauled and maintained their wheelchairs and we hope to do that in the future. And many individuals in the community and surrounding communities have brought their wheelchairs here to East Brunswick High School to have their wheelchair service. In addition, we also service bicycles, and we provide the same type of service for the bicycles as we do for the wheelchairs. We do not charge for labor. We only charge for new parts which we might have to install in either a bicycle or a wheelchair. Any old parts that we can utilize in the repair of either a wheelchair or bicycle, we do not charge for either. Many organizations have donated bicycles, such as the police department of East Brunswick. Also, we've had donations of wheelchairs by many individuals and also by the East Brunswick Elks. And we utilize these spare parts in the repairs so we can keep down the cost to anyone who brings it in. Okay. This service has been a lot by word of mouth and the recognitions that we've received in the newspaper. They've become aware of the service, and usually we make arrangements for them to bring the wheelchair here, and even in some cases we've gone out and picked the wheelchair up and also delivered it back to them if they're disabled in some way, which they cannot bring it here.
Okay. For people interested in your service, do you have a phone number they could reach you at?
Yes, you can call between 7:30 and 4:30. You can call the East Brunswick School District number, which is 257-8300, and you can ask for extension 275, and my name is Mike Pfister.
Howdy, I'm Minnie Pearl. The tragic African famine has made all of us realize the devastation of hunger. But did you know that some of our own children right here in the United States are hungry too? Sometimes the only nutritious meal an American child receives all day is at school. That's why our nation's school meal programs are so important. Through school meals, our kids can get the proper nutrition they need. In order to build a happy future for the entire world, support our school's child nutrition programs. They're the best buys in town.
What's new in the food industry? Well, in recent years, fast food franchises and frozen food packagers have created a large and growing demand for chicken, but not the whole bird. For their nuggets, breast patty sandwiches, and other such products, they want white meat. Now, James Acton and Bonnie Bowie of Clemson University in South Carolina have stumbled onto what could prove to be the ultimate solution bleached leftover thighs into more white meat. It seems that what makes dark meat dark is the water-soluble protein called myoglobin. And although washing removes much of the myoglobin, the meat is still dark. So what they do is they bleach the meat with hydrogen peroxide or ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is vitamin C. Hydrogen peroxide is an oxidizing agent, but it breaks down and doesn't leave any residual chemicals. So they bleach the meat and make it white. Now, their technique requires cutting chicken thighs into small, thin, perforated strips. The strips emerge from an hour-long wash, having 3 15-minute agitation cycles, and they emerge with the texture and appearance of chicken breast meat. Smoked and packed in a casing, the meat is indistinguishable from similarly processed chicken breasts, except in taste. And that, the researcher says, is midway between that of a breast meat and that of thigh meat. So it seems that maybe in the future, when you get your chicken McNuggets or your chicken sandwiches from other fast food places, what you think is white meat is actually bleached dark meat. Thanks for watching Health Facts.
Hello, and welcome to Consumer Aware. I'm Adrienne Eisner, Director of the East Brunswick Consumer Affairs Office. Last week, we looked at some of the basics of income tax preparation. Today, we'll talk about some tips you should follow if you decide to have your return completed by a tax preparer. Keep in mind that whether or not you pay for assistance, you are still responsible for making sure that your taxes are prepared accurately. The quality and price of tax preparation services can vary greatly. If you decide you need assistance, you should shop around to find the preparer best for you. To find the preparer that best suits your needs, call several and ask these important questions. What is your training or experience in preparing tax returns? The more complex your tax situation, the more you may wish the advice of someone with specialized experience. How do you check for accuracy? Does someone else double-check returns? Approximately how much will preparing my taxes cost? How is that fee determined? Where can you be reached later in the year if I should need help with an audit? When you visit the preparer, expect certain things. A preparer should go through a checklist of deductions to see if they apply to you. The preparer should enter his or her name and Social Security number or federal identification number on your return. A preparer should not guarantee you a refund before completing your return, suggest that you claim non-existent deductions, or commit any other improprieties. A preparer should not ask you to sign a blank return or one that is completed in pencil. Even though you hired someone to prepare your returns, you are personally liable for any additional tax, interest, or penalty, even if you have a written guarantee from your preparer. Gather and bring to the preparer any information or documents that might apply to your taxes, including last year's tax return. Make a list of any tax-related questions that occur to you and be ready to ask the preparer about them. After your return is prepared, check to see that all the information is correct. Mail the return yourself, since you are the one who will be held responsible for late filing penalties. If you have any further questions about selecting a tax preparer, please contact us at the East Brunswick Consumer Affairs Office. Our telephone number is 390-6954. Our office is located in the Municipal Building, and we are open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Call us for any help that you may need. Thank you for joining me on Consumer Aware.
At this week's Township Council meeting, the Council was unanimous in supporting a resolution to reverse their previous decision that requested the Township's Planning Board to determine whether or not the parcel of land that Tower Center occupies should be declared blighted. Council President Jerome O'Connor.
we've all had a number of discussions about Blight. Certainly about 2 or 3 months ago when Blight was first proposed, there have been discussions at this council table. There have been discussions independently with each other. Many of us have shared our views on Blight, and the views have varied from one extreme to the other. There's been numerous articles in the Home News, more than numerous articles in the Sentinel. And in my opinion, ever since the Blight proposal was first proposed by the developer, it just appeared to me that there was a black cloud hanging over East Brunswick that seemed to me to permeate every single resident that might have picked up a newspaper. And it was just an ill will that seemed to come out of everything that had to do with the Blight proposal and Blight discussions. One of the other concerns I have about Blight is that if, let's say, at one extreme, if Blight were ever to be approved by this council, that it seems to me that there would be an extremely bad relationship that would start not only with the developer, but certainly with the tenant, AT&T. And I don't think that this township wants to look at AT&T, or the township's residents wants to look at AT&T with a bad taste in their mouth if they were to come in under the guise of a Blight proposal. But even though there's been a Blight proposal, there certainly has been a legitimate reason why the developer has asked for Blight. We all know that his original plans, as I remember them, required 2 ramps, which were of substantial cost, enough such that his lawyers had researched the statutes and found that legitimately they could go after the Fox lands statutes and perhaps gain approval of that through the planning board and through the council. But the developer now, as you know, is proposing a 1-ramp system, which is going to be certainly far less costly than the 2-ramp system. I also just wanted to say that I think that my position has been pretty clear on Blight, and I've shared that position pretty consistently in the past, and certainly more consistently currently with the mayor, with a number of council members, and I know that I've had many discussions with the mayor about Blight, and I simply think that it's time that we have to do something to consider some other way of treating this. As I indicate, I think that at least the financial reason for Blight is now removed now that the developer has proposed something far less costly.
I think it's important that we recognize that since the developer has said that he's going to do the road improvements, that probably withdraws justification for it. I think it's important that we also recognize, and probably more importantly, whether the developer had said he was going to do anything or not, is that the subject has become so emotional and so controversial in our community that it's important that we be responsive to that and let the developer do what he can do with or without our assistance. And if it can happen, it can happen. If it can't happen, it can't happen. Somebody else will make it happen in the future. So I support the some council action to withdraw the resolution of Blight. I think it should be with considerable thanks to the planning board, because they've spent a lot of hours hearing testimony and trying to make that decision on your behalf.
To go a step further, I would like to also make a recommendation that we sell the 14 acres there that belongs to East Brunswick Township, that there's a proposed 3,100 car parking lot designed for retire the $25 million bond.
I really don't think that the Blight proposal at Tower Center ever had a chance to be rationally considered, because so many people jumped on it before they even had a chance to understand what was being proposed and knocked it down. There is no justification for it now because I think of what the developer is proposing, so it should not be any further considered. We ought to take the time to think about this and study this so that the next time it comes before this community, there can be a much more rational and carefully thought through discussion on it than occurred this time.
The Council will formally vote on this resolution at Monday's Council meeting, March 10th. A warning to our viewers who travel on Church Lane. If you haven't already noticed, the bridge which crosses Farrington Lake, connecting East Brunswick and North Brunswick at the intersection of Church Lane and Riva Avenue, is being reconstructed. The date for reopening is not yet available, but will be announced on Channel 8 as soon as possible. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching.